Hello everybody, welcome to the Savvy Scholar Chronicles. This is going to be an intro video into my channel, just to kind of talk about kind of what I'll be going into. So I plan to do a educational history channel kind of a thing, more of the emphasis on the history because I just wanted to get into a lot of like old stuff, the civilizations, all kind of like how we became who we are in the modern era from the old civilizations that existed on Earth before. So I want to do a lot of that. I do have a lot of other educational stuff that I'll try to get into later when I get more specific about what it is that I would like to learn and teach y'all so we can all kind of just get some more knowledge on just general things. So I did want to go into a couple things in this video, such as for the history stuff I will be using the BC AD method. It is not as a common one that they have been using recently. They've been using the before Common Era and Common Era for the years. So, like the 100 BCE, they've been using that a lot. I won't be using that. I'm going to be using the good old generic BC AD method. Because it to me personally, using the BCE and CE method doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Especially when I grew up, we were still using BC AD in my school. Like, we didn't go into this before Common Era stuff. It was the before Christ and then Anno Domini. So I don't see the point in like changing that, especially because the BCE and CE, before Common Era, uses the exact same year sets. The only reason why they started doing that in the current century is because they wanted to make it more secular. They didn't want to include any kind of religious ties to it, but they use the same starting point and the transition years between BCE and CE, which is the birth of Jesus Christ. So it doesn't really make any sense to use that one because they're using the same starting point. So we will be using BC AD. Anno Domini standing for in the year of our Lord, which is another reason why they tried to make it more secular, but I just don't see the point in switching it up unless they switched it to another more ambiguous year that is less of a religious front, but it's the same either way. There's no change of the transition. I did want to get a little bit into kind of how the BC and the AD started. So the BC, which is before Christ, I've always had people wonder why they were in two different languages, why the BC was in English and then Anno Domini is a Latin term, and it's because the BC only it was attached to AD in the 8th century by Saint Bede. He was the one who wanted to specify the years before Christ was born, and he used the before Christ method for that. The Anno Domini came from a monk in the 5th century, Dionysius Exiguus, in the year 525 BC. No, in 525 AD, sorry. And he created it in order to calculate the years after Jesus was born. And he also didn't want to keep using the prior yearly mark, which was by the Diocletian era, which the Diocletian era, they were a peoples who persecuted Christians, and so the monk did not want to continue with their system. He wanted to create a new system and try to forget about the tyrant that ruled the Diocletian era. So he created Anno Domini, which is in the year of our Lord. So that's kind of where that sort of comes from. And then the BCE and CE, I'll have to get more into why they did that. I just know it was for a more secular reason, but it uses the same starting years. So we're not using that. We're just using good old BC AD. Yeah, and I will get more into Dionysius Exiguus in a later video at some point. The next video that I will be doing will be based more in the Sumerians as like the first civilization that was prevalent and kind of making their own language. It does kind of get a little bit weird with the years because when you look it up when you look up like, oh, what year did this civilization exist, you will find 3 or 4 different year sets. So I'm going to do my best to try to get the most accurate that I can get, but a lot of it is just speculation and, well, we found this thing 1,000 years before we had it said. We found this 200 years after they were supposedly already gone. We're just going to try to do our best to make sure that we get it as accurately as possible, but by the end of the day, they didn't have the writing we have now and the documentations that we have now, so it's just going to be really difficult in order to get like a perfectly set year set for those. So I will end this video here, but I did want to make sure that you guys knew that we were going to be doing Sumerians in the next video and getting more in detail with all of that, and I think it's going to be really fun, and, you know, have a good day.